Tell
Woody,
me what your election night was like.
So Woody and I had a small wager, and we like doubled the wager leading up to it. And I thought I'd lost. I thought that Harris was going to win on election night. I believed that Iowa poll that came out that showed Trump ahead. And I thought that was a bellwether for the rest of the nation. I thought that was going to be the telltale sign of the way things had reacted.
Everybody was saying that.
I thought it was
even like Nate Silver. Like Nate Silver was saying, like, I don't know about this poll, but I don't want to bet against Ann Seltzer. And then he won by like 17 points in Iowa. It was insane.
Yeah, I thought if he's down 3 in Iowa, God, he's probably also that in Georgia. He's probably does he win South Carolina? I thought it was going to be a bad night for Trump. And so I was watching like cop videos, like the rest of the boys were in their WhatsApp, like going around and around, and they're like, it's not bad. Trump's okay. He's won the red states, and look at this. It's kind of tight here and there, but it's early. And then as it slowly like happened, I tuned in and started micromanaging it. Like, and
we started to see pretty early on, actually, because there were trends that you were noticing where it's like, Kamala seems to be like 6 points behind Biden in this one county in Pennsylvania. And there was little stories.
They kept telling me that at first Kamala was going to be ahead. I think they called it the blue mirage, something like that. And then after that, the red wave would come because they had pre-counted, like Pennsylvania, for example, the mail-in votes where she was expected to do better. And when that blue mirage was her either like down or up by like 0.1% that wouldn't
they
hold
called
up.
it a firewall, I think.
Okay. I heard something different. But anyway, it was like, oh, shucks, this isn't the like good fast start that Kamala was supposed to get. And when the rest of the results come in, it's not supposed to get any better. So it was, I wanted to cope pretty quickly. It was like, all right, so she's not going to win North Carolina and run up the score. All right, she's not going to win Georgia. There's still the blue wall up there, right? The 3 Rust Belt states. Yeah. And then when they started looking ugly, it's like, just stop torturing yourself. Come back tomorrow when you know.
I felt like it was, I was confident when I saw just the numbers at the blue wall. Even early in the night, I don't know, maybe we'd call it 7 p.m., 8 p.m. or something. It was tight in all those places, and it was like she needs to do some special things to win. It was her paths to victory, if you will, were literally shrinking, and it was like she's got to win now. She has to do this, that, and the other, and Trump just has to do this and that. And it's like, well, he's gonna do that. My God! And it was like, here it comes. Here comes the montages of like. They said he wouldn't, but they did. Like, here they come again. And now that's all my algorithm does. It's just nothing but election night montages. I've watched every reaction from every network head. I've watched YouTubers' reactions to it. I watched Destiny to stream. He had a whole like panel with him, and slowly, the realization he knew early. He was like, this is bad.
I heard Destiny talk about it, and so he was like, "It can't be this bad. Show me Pennsylvania. No, take that down. Show me this. Show me that."
He was joking when
he was. That's where I was headed. So like Piers Morgan was like, "You had quite the freak out." He's like, "Well, I wouldn't put it like that. I had an 8-hour show. I knew pretty early on that it wasn't going to go our way, but there's still the show must go on. You get it." And Piers, to his credit, who I normally don't like, was like, "That makes sense to me."
Yeah. But I saw every network's, slow realization, because early on in the night, the storyline was, what we all want to know is, will Donald Trump accept the election, or will he try to declare a victory long before, all the votes are tallied? Will he wait until he is like just ahead and be like, I won, call it off, stop counting the votes. They were worried about that.
He was calling fraud before the votes started counted or came in. And
certainly was.
And then once he liked the results, suddenly these are legit. There's
Didn't
no more
need to
fraud.
investigate
Everything
the Pennsylvania
fine.
fraud. Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
He has character issues.
Yes, he does. But he's the greatest winner of all time. He's the most powerful man in the world again. All of his legal problems go poof. And he's still married to that smoke show. It's hard to vote. It's hard to go against old Donald Trump. He just keeps on winning. At least he does. I don't know if we will. I'm hopeful for the country. I'm hopeful that with full control of Congress and the Supreme Court as it is, that he'll be able to get some of his stuff done.
So that's what I wanted to ask you guys about. So like the big promises that he was making early on was he's going to cut people's energy bills in half. Are you guys hopeful that he's going to be able to do that?
No, of course not. That sounds like a
Did he say that?
Like a crazy statement he made. Half price energy and a pony for everyone. That's
$2 gas.
Ooh, hope so.
Are we thinking
that'd be nice? I don't see that as a possibility, but yeah, that would be good.
Lower grocery prices.
Sure, in some instances.
Prices won't. We won't have deflationary economy.
Yeah,
and
but
we don't
maybe,
want it either.
Of course.
He said he'd end the Ukraine war before inauguration. Are we hopeful that's going to happen?
Oh, he's working on that one.
I would love to see the Ukraine shit ended as soon as possible. I don't see any way that it happens before he's inaugurated, though. And maybe I'm being cynical, but
they're inching toward it. They like clearly like all the parties see what's going on. That war is going to end now because of Donald Trump. And it will be a victory for him because allowing the war to continue would be seen as a defeat. So he will end the war.
But also there's the negative that he's, even if he pulls us out of the Ukraine nonsense, which I'm in favor of, the more I see people he's nominating, there's a lot of Iran war hawks in that group. And that gives me pause. I don't like that.
Before we leave the Ukraine topic, it is easy to end that war. All you need to do is surrender. The war is over. Just lose. That option, quitting, is always on the table. And it appears that a victory for Trump is a victory for Russia. That's his strategy. He's just going to let Russia have anything they want. He doesn't give a darn about Ukraine. And there we go.
So I think what they'll need to do. He's not quite as tied up with them as the Biden crime family. I know, but I think he will want to end the war in a reasonable kind of way. My prediction is that it depends on where they draw the lines, right? Because apparently we're going to redraw the lines of two countries when this thing is over, no matter who wins. And so they're going to have to agree on some new border. But the real thing is Zelensky wants him to be a member of NATO because he wants to say, okay, I'm sure he would say this. I'll give up all that. But in return, I want a forever peace. Not like in 94 or whenever it was, when I gave up all my nukes and you guys promised that I wouldn't have any trouble out of Russia. Not like then.
Not that time I gave you Crimea and then you just invaded me a few years later, right? Russia will absolutely, if he doesn't get in NATO, just invade them again. They've done it twice already. It's not like this is a wild.
Part of the reason he invaded.
Hang on, let me say this.
Sure, go ahead. Sorry.
It's exactly like when we fight wars in Civ, and you invade quickly, you grab some land, and then you're like, yeah, I'll make peace. Because why wouldn't you want peace? Now you get to freely move all your troops up to their border and poise yourself for the next war. As soon as it's convenient for you, it's in their best interest to seek a peace. If the next war is just whenever they're ready again, and 4, 5, 6 years from now, when they're ready to take the whole thing next time. So they're going to need to be a member of NATO, or they're going to need to have their own nukes, which they're fully capable of loading their own nukes and being a nuclear power, I'm sure, in a month or two. That's where a lot of the Soviet Union's nukes were made. I'm sure they didn't just throw all that shit away. It's got to be one of those, right? It's either they get Article 5 protections or they get nuclear weapon protections.
Well, this assumes that he's gonna. So ultimately, it's Congress that decides where this aid goes, and so right now in the House, they're poised to have the smallest majority since 1930. I think they only had a 5-seat majority, 215 to 220, and Trump nominated 3 people that were serving in the House of Representatives. Absolutely. So right now they functionally will only have a 2-seat majority. Now those seats will get replaced or whatever. But there still are a lot of Republicans that are sympathetic to Ukraine, support those aid packages. So there's a really big question mark around how how cooperative this Congress is going to be. Like even in the Senate with some of these Senate confirmations.
Can I tell you why? They're going to be very cooperative. Elon Musk is the dark horse fucking Joker wild card to end all political wild cards. They will primary your ass if you don't get behind this MAGA agenda. And whether you can go on and on about how close the election was, mandate is the word on every lip in the nation, and that's what they're going to.
They can believe that, but I mean,
can you tell me if this is true? Like, I saw that not a single county across the entire country moved left. Meaningfully.
I saw the map. I've got it somewhere. Like there's a very cool map that color codes every county, and it shows the last 3 or 4 elections. Though so you can see counties that went like Trump, Biden, Harris. That did not happen once.
Yeah, like I didn't. Or maybe the number was like there were no counties in the country where Harris performed better as a Democrat than Biden did in 20. There were no increases anywhere.
It was only steps backwards.
This is a really weird metric to use to put your thumb on the pulse of the country, right? Like a county could be 72% Democrat, it slips to 71, and they're like, that's a Trump win. Look at how they're shifting in his direction. It's a mandate. Listen, Trump won by 1.6%. That's an actual metric you could use to gauge his popularity. He got less than half the vote and 1.6% more than Kamala.
I mean, I'm not trying to be contentious, but like to say that it's meaningless that every county in our vast and enormous country performed worse for the Democrats in this election than in 2020, like is indicative that voters are not pleased, or Democrat voters rather are not pleased with the direction of the party.
These things matter, obviously. Like, so it's impressive that a Republican won the popular vote for the first time since 2004. And if you're the Democratic Party leadership right now, you for sure want to figure out how to like stop the bleeding and make up some ground. But when we compare it to 2008, for example, that was a 60-seat majority in the Senate. That was like a 50-seat majority in the House and the presidency, and a landslide. Electoral college victory.
If only they had more Obamas.
If they want to, like they have control of government, they have a full trifecta, and so like they're in charge right now, and so they can use that power however they want. If they overstep, typically voters punish incumbent parties when they're perceived to be overstepping, and which is basically every single time. And so
I think you can get a decent read looking at some of like the major issues though, like most people, the majority are in favor of mass deportations. Like we want illegals out of the country.
And that's something that people are going to hold that. Do you think that people are going to hold that opinion if prices go up, for example?
Some will, some won't.
I mean,
I think that you're going to. I think you're going to see a number of. I think there are going to be some short-term hardships, and I think people are okay with that if there's a way out or there's a plan. I felt like with Biden there was no plan, and there was no sort of like we're going to get rid of these people and we're going to have to adjust to it. There was no talk like that, and I mean it was Musk, but that's exactly what Musk said. Is like there'll be some short-term hardship throughough this thing. He was talking about tariffs in particular,
called it like shock therapy,
but I don't care what it costs. I don't care what it costs to secure the border and to make sure that we know who's coming into this country, and we stop the literal invasion. The literal invasion of millions. The border issue is separate millions from the, of people.
Illegal immigration issue. I mean,
no, they're very intertwined. Like illegal immigration is allowed to be a huge thing because the Biden administration, illegal immigration and a lack of border security, like those are inexplicably linked or inextricably linked.
Here, illegal are here overstaying a visa, and I feel like what Republicans do is conflate the issue at the border with they conflate like our asylum laws with illegal immigration. So when we talk about like the asylum laws, we have laws on the books that if somebody shows up and they request asylum and they meet a certain criteria, they are afforded a court date. And our system is so backlogged now that oftentimes they have to wait 5 to 8 years before they get a court date. And while they're waiting for that, they're allowed into the country. And I feel like a lot of Republicans are calling that like those are illegals flooding into the country.
It is. It's like you don't want them here. Like the Remain in Mexico policy, the idea that you let in hundreds of thousands or millions of people and go, we'll get to you in 10 years. Meanwhile,
those are the laws that
take
are on the
WIC,
books.
take Medicaid, take housing vouchers. Like, no, like that's an absurd cost for the American public to have to foot.